Hey everyone, so I just wanted to make a video about the whole question of sustainability and what that means and how we get there. It's confusing to some people. There are so many elements to it, but I really think it comes down to a fundamental premise, which is that if we want to live sustainably, we can't live for right now. We can't live for the near future. We need to live for our great-grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren, for future generations. We need to make our decisions based on the idea that we are planning for their lives. And if you work from that premise, and if you explore all the topics, all the decisions that come before you thoroughly, then that's all you need. That's literally all you need, is that one premise. And it will change the entire way your culture operates. We don't have that in our society. All the decisions are being made for right now. They're being made for short-term profit, for our short-term, for our individual happiness, our individual wealth, all these sorts of things. We don't make decisions individually or as a society largely for the future. And if we did, it would change everything that we did. And so many people have heard of the whole 7 generations thing from the Iroquois Confederacy, but this isn't an idea that's limited to one culture. This is common across many sustainable cultures throughout the world. Another example that I just heard about is an indigenous community in northern Mali, and they would say they would interact with the landscape in various ways. They would change the landscape around them. And when they were asked about what they were doing, what they hoped to get out of it, they would say, we're trying to make this better for our great-great-grandchildren. So they're literally planning hundreds of years into the future. And that's the type of foresight that humans are capable of and that we need to leverage if we're going to live in a sustainable way. And, of course, it's easy to say that now. It's easy to say these words. It's a lot harder to implement that in our daily realities, because we're operating within so many constraints of this system, within capitalism, within civilization. We don't have choices. We don't have a society that's on the same page. We don't have governments and systems of power that are on the same page as us when it comes to these ideas. And that's why I'm a revolutionary. That's why we need to overthrow these systems, because they are mandating, they are forcing unsustainability. That is the law. That is the way that our society functions. And it's not stopping voluntarily. So you have to force it to stop. You have to force it to stop enforcing these ideals of unsustainability, these ideals of short-term growth. And that force can be done in many different ways. I've come to the point where I'm a revolutionary, and I don't think that using the democratic process or working through the system in various ways is going to lead to the change that we need on any sort of meaningful timescale. I don't discourage people who do choose to work in that system. I think that if people have revolutionary ideas in their hearts and they want to go into the system at some level and work on those things, I think that's somewhat commendable. I think there's a lot of good work that can be done. But, at the same time, there's a lyric from a song that says, when you choose to work inside the system, it's not you that changes the system. It's the system that will inevitably change you. And I think that's so often true. You become beholden to a certain power structure, a certain system, certain institutions and ways of doing things when you choose to work inside the system, and that changes you. That changes how you're able to work. And obviously we haven't seen an ecological revolution, so the ideas that I'm promoting are somewhat abstract to people, but I'm trying to flesh them out further. I'm trying to present a vision and a plan that people can identify with and can get behind. I don't know if I've told many of many of you this, but I'm working on a new book project right now exploring some of these ideas. basically exploring the topic of what is an ecological revolution? What does that look like? What does that entail? And why is that, in my opinion, the preeminent and most important revolutionary tendency and approach in the modern world? So keep an eye out for that. I'm in the early stages of writing, and if any people are interested, share some ideas with me, share some thoughts you have. I'd love to hear from you. But again, I think it all goes back to that idea of we live for the future. We're born with a sense of obligation. The fact that we get to experience this beautiful world. I'm just heading out from home this morning and had the blessing of seeing these 2 baby fawns, just a few weeks old, still got their spots, and they were flicking their ears because there's a few raindrops this morning, and I don't think they've ever felt rain in their lives until today. We all have the blessing of feeling raindrops on our skin and feeling the sun on our skin, and friendship and love and good food and all of these amazing things that come from the land. Ultimately, they come from the world, the physical living world around us. We get those blessings, and because of that, we have an obligation to pass on those blessings, to continue them, to leave a world that is at least as good, if not better, for those who come after us. And that means thinking ahead, thinking long term.